Well, the Northwest teacher at the center of the racism row, Elana Barkhuizen, has spoken out today. The Northwest teacher, of course, was placed on suspension by that province's MEC. Solidarity today saying it will be challenging that suspension. It's heading not only to court but to the Human Rights Commission for this matter to be investigated. At the same time, today we've heard from the teacher for the very first time. Malungelo Booi attended that media briefing for us. Let's go straight to him. Malungelo, good afternoon. There's been a bit more time to make sense of everything that was said at that media briefing by Solidarity and the teacher that is involved here. For now, what are the options they're exploring? Because she says she's committed to remaining in the teaching profession.
Well, the one thing that's coming out clear, Kathy, on the way forward here is that Solidarity and Elana Barkhuizen will be heading to court to make sure that that suspension is lifted. Solidarity saying that that suspension was in fact unlawful. Let's explore that with Solidarity's Dirk Herman. So thank you so much for your time. Before we get into you heading to court and making sure that that suspension is lifted, I just want us to talk a little bit about the statement that was read out by Elana Barkhuizen. We've heard it saying that she's not into politics. Her job is to teach and that she will fight to make sure that she goes back to school. But I did not in any way hear her apologizing for what has happened.
She's very emotional, and that was an emotional statement. And what she said, that I'm a teacher, and what I do is to consider the best interest of the kids. And in this specific case, it was so as well. She actually was confronted with a reality, and the reality was a class where some kids could not speak Afrikaans or English, and she had to make them feel safe. And the reason why she must make them feel safe is so that they can play with the other kids. And if you look at photo number 2, just a couple of minutes after that photo, you can see kids playing happy. And especially in her class, the photo that was taken at that same time. That was kids, and on the one photo, a black kid stood there and show sharp, I'm okay, I am happy. Yeah. So what she did was just to care for the children, and that is what she believed she did. And what she said is that I don't see color in my class. Yeah. And the problem is the community have seen color. And she did not see in that specific photo that there's a problem with racial segregation, because that was not her meaning.
Okay, so she saw nothing wrong with that photo?
Because she understood the context. You and me see that photo not within the context. She's seen that photo within the context of the whole day, and within the context, she said, no, that was not what we meant. We did not mean to separate on grounds of race at all.
I hear that, sir. I hear that. But she took the photo. We understand that it was not her class, but she took the photo, and the photo has caused a lot of people to be angry. Surely, whether she meant to cause harm or not, she should acknowledge that the photo has caused harm, and she should have apologized at least for that.
Well, the fact of the matter is that she acted in the best interest of those specific kids, black and white. And that was her message. She said that I'm a teacher, I mean just good. South Africa, listen to me. And the mirror is against the South African public that have seen race in that picture, while that was not the case.
You're saying that the department had no right to suspend her?
Not at all. She's not employed by the department. She is a employee of the school governing body. And the MEC jumped on a stage. He actually announced her suspension, but he was not her employer. It was the wrong employer. And at that stage, he presented it within the context of racial segregation, and that was not her class. So that meant...
But I have to disagree with you there a little bit when it comes to the MEC not being the employer. The MEC of Education in the Northwest is in charge of everything that happens in schools. He is in charge of what the SGBs are doing. I think the MEC had a right to suspend that teacher.
I'm very glad you only differ from me a little bit, because you are a lot wrong. Because the fact of the matter is, the responsibility there was the responsibility of the SGB. They are the employee.
Oversees what happens in schools.
But there is no employment relationship between the SGB, the MEC, and the specific teacher. The employment relationship was with the SGB, and that makes this unlawful according to any labour relation rule.
You're saying that there's a number of steps that you, in fact, are going to be taking. You're filing a civil case. You're going to court. Explain those to us. Why?
In the first place, the suspension must be lifted because it's absolutely unlawful, and that will be on an urgent basis. We will file our papers at the end of this week, and we're going to be successful. And in the second place, we also say that the Human Rights Commission must investigate the acts of the MEC and the political parties, because the fact of the matter is they were emotional, they did not listen to the other side of the story. It was a kind of a bundu court where you don't take into account the normal rules of court. In the third place, we say that there is a defamation claim here as well, but we will wait there till all the investigations are finalized. In the last place, we wrote to the DA leader, Musi Mayamani, asking him to discipline his youth leader for releasing photos of children that he did not have permission to do, and also to release this name of this teacher without listening to the other side of the story.
I mean, do you get it? Is, according to you, would you then say Mrs. Buckhazen is being used as a scapegoat?
She's used as a scapegoat by political opportunists.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Derek Herman there, he is from Solidarity, saying, Kathy, they'll be taking a whole lot of actions, really, including legal action, but also going to the Human Rights Commission, asking them to also probe, really, the actions of the MEC and also some of the political parties. But also what's interesting is that there will be a civil case that will be filed against several parties who, in fact, described Mrs. Buckhazen as a racist.
All right, Malungelo, let's leave it there for this afternoon. Malungelo Booi is watching that story. And, of course, earlier at that very same venue, we heard from a teacher, Buckhazen, who gave her version of events, or at least defended her role as a teacher. Let's take a